This is not just another story about sand, stone, and time. It is the whisper of something older than history itself, something that has been hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to be seen. For generations, the guardians of knowledge have insisted the past is already mapped, neatly cataloged, and perfectly understood. Yet there remains a shadow, a question that never seems to disappear no matter how firmly the experts try to bury it. What if there is a place beneath the surface of our world where everything we thought we knew about civilization is wrong? For nearly 100 years, a rumor has survived like a ghost passed from one curious mind to another. A chamber, not of gold or treasure, but of memory. A vault where the ancients sealed their story, a story that does not match the one written in textbooks. They call it many things, but the most persistent name is the Hall of Records. Some say it lies under the paws of the Sphinx, others claim it is buried beneath the second pyramid, and still others whisper it may stretch deeper than the imagination can allow. If it exists, it is not a tomb. It is a library designed to outlive the rise and fall of kingdoms. Scrolls, maps, celestial charts, even blueprints of technologies we are only beginning to rediscover today. And each time someone dismisses it, another clue seems to surface, daring the legend to stay alive. The first stirrings of this idea began with visions, predictions made long before satellites could scan beneath the Earth. A psychic in the early 20th century spoke of survivors from a lost civilization who fled a cataclysm and buried their knowledge in 3 great repositories, one in the Yucatan, one in the Caribbean, and one in Egypt, hidden beneath the desert sands. His words were easy to mock, yet for some reason, they took root. Perhaps because they sounded less like fantasy and more like a memory struggling to surface. Decades later, technology began to catch up with myth. Radar pulses, seismic vibrations, and satellite scans revealed cavities where no one expected them. Anomalies, voids, and shafts snaking downward far deeper than anyone imagined possible. Some scientists waved them away as natural fissures, cracks in the limestone. Others looked closer and wondered why those cracks seemed so perfectly geometric, so intentional. And every time a report was published, the whispers began again. Could this be the library of the ancients? Could this be the place where the real history of humanity waits in silence? The reaction was always the same. Enthusiasts shouted that the discovery was about to rewrite the past. Scholars dismissed it as noise, a trick of instruments, or the wishful thinking of dreamers. But behind the scenes, something strange kept happening. Teams who claimed to have found evidence suddenly lost funding. Permissions to dig were revoked. Announcements made with excitement were quietly retracted. The deeper you look, the more you notice a pattern. Discovery followed by silence. And silence is a loop in itself. The mystery never ends. It just circles back, each generation asking the same question. What lies beneath? Imagine standing before the Sphinx at night, when the crowds are gone and the desert wind carries only the sound of sand shifting. The monument stares east as it has for thousands of years, its gaze locked on a horizon that once lit up with stars aligned in ways we barely understand today. Beneath those massive paws, legends say a door waits, a sealed passage that leads to the chamber. Ancient writings never confirm it, but they hint. Myths of a place where the gods left records, myths of a time before the Nile even had its current course. Could the Sphinx be more than stone? Could it be a sentinel guarding the memory of something older than Egypt itself? Skeptics point out there is no papyrus, no hieroglyph, no inscription that speaks of this hall. They are correct. Yet absence is not the same as proof of non-existence. History is filled with rediscoveries. Troy was once considered a fable, until ruins rose from the earth. Petra was forgotten by the outside world, until a traveler stumbled upon its rose-red walls. Time buries secrets not only beneath the ground, but within the arrogance of believing we already know everything. The Hall of Records persists because humanity is wired for mystery. We need the possibility that there is more to the story, that somewhere beneath the bedrock lies an answer that will make us look at the stars differently, make us question how civilizations rise and fall, and perhaps make us realize we are not the first to climb the ladder of knowledge. What if another culture did it before us? reached a height beyond comprehension, and left behind a record not for themselves, but for whoever came next. If such a record exists, its purpose is not simply to be found, but to remind us we are part of a cycle, one we barely understand. Every few years, new technology breathes life into the legend again. Muon scans, able to detect voids by measuring cosmic particles, revealed unexplained spaces within the Great Pyramid itself. One cavity is so vast it rivals the size of a cathedral, yet no one knows why it exists or what it contains. Some argue it is merely structural, a hollow to relieve weight. Others see it as another breadcrumb, another hint that what has been dismissed for too long may one day force its way into the light. And here lies the semi-loop, the frustrating return to the same point: discovery without access. Every anomaly found becomes a headline, every headline becomes a debate, and every debate ends the same way, with unanswered questions. We circle back, waiting for the next scan, the next rumor, the next daring researcher willing to risk their career on what might be hidden beneath the desert. Yet for all the doubt, one fact remains undeniable. The Giza Plateau is not fully mapped. Caverns, shafts, and tunnels still stretch into darkness. Some are known but sealed, others hinted at by instruments but never explored. It is one of the most studied sites on Earth, and yet it still refuses to yield all its secrets. That refusal, that silence, is what keeps the legend alive. If the Hall of Records exists, why has it not been opened? Perhaps it has, and we were never told. Perhaps what lies inside is too dangerous, not in the sense of weapons or curses, but in knowledge. Imagine documents that prove civilization is far older than we believe. Imagine maps of coastlines that existed before the Ice Age ended. Imagine instructions for technologies that could disrupt everything from energy to medicine. Such discoveries would not simply alter history, they would threaten the foundations of power. Control of knowledge is control of society, and secrets of that scale would not be shared lightly. And so we arrive at the same question we began with. What if beneath the sands of Egypt there is a chamber where the story of humanity is written differently? What if every denial, every dismissal, every accusation of fantasy is not proof of absence, but proof of protection? A secret too important to allow in the open. The story loops again, and it will loop until someone someday digs deep enough or dares enough to uncover what has waited in silence for millennia. Maybe it will be found tomorrow, maybe never. But the possibility is enough. Enough to keep us looking at the desert not as a graveyard of the past, but as a vault holding keys to the future. Until then, the Hall of Records remains both nowhere and everywhere. A ghost that refuses to be buried. A mystery carved into the bones of the earth. And if you listen closely, in the silence between the shifting winds, you might hear it calling.